There we go. Hey, everybody. I'm sorry. Technical difficulty. If not, you could just say user error. I did not know how to use the buttons on the stream. So, hey, guys, welcome to this evening. It is Wednesday night, May the 3rd. My birthday is tomorrow, and I am celebrating the birthday eve by talking with you guys and hoping that you guys are having a great night. I'm excited about the springtime and the summertime coming up. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about the area and things happening in the real estate market and what to prepare for, all that kind of stuff. And I think it would be a good time to kind of do a recap of what's going on in the real estate market in Hampton Roads and answer your questions as well. So I hope you brought some. If you've got any, let me know. You can drop them in the comments anytime as I'm talking. And what I'll do is, well, first I'll ask you where you're from. I'd love to know where you're from. Any spots in the country, any spots in the world, anywhere, any time zone, let me know. I wanted to take today. Thanks, Will. I appreciate that. I wanted to take today to, again, do a recap, but also tell you about some spots I'm thinking that as prices have gone up, I still think there are some places that are affordable, under 500,000, around $500,000, I think would be worth looking at if you're planning to move here. And here means anywhere from the border of Virginia Beach through past Williamsburg, and that would be like Toronto is a good example. And so we'll get into that. We'll talk about all the areas, as many as possible within the time frames that my voice won't go out. So if you got any questions, let me know. Where are you guys watching from? I'd love to know. A lot of people I talk to are coming from the West Coast, could be coming from a different country. That's always interesting to me. So number one, I want to do is do a recap of the market right now. And the stats for April won't be out for probably about a week or so. And so I would say because of that, it's going to take a little bit of time to get some actual numbers together to determine like what the actual, what's happening in the market just concretely. But I will say that despite that, I can tell you what I've been seeing myself in the market as far as offers are concerned, what kind of offers are getting accepted, how aggressive do you have to be compared to like last year or the year before that. Happy birthday. Thanks a lot. Colorado, my stonewashed jeans. Glad to talk to you from Colorado. 2-hour difference, I think, if I'm guessing right, mountain time. But anyway, so what I'm seeing right now is very interesting because follow all the way from here to Toronto to past Williamsburg, I'm seeing a mixed bag of activity. You will see houses that, let's just say at 500,000, you'll see houses that will list for 500. And just like last year, the year before that, you'll see them go 20, 30,000 or more over asking price. And the question is, why? Because the prices are high, yes, but the payments are so much higher than they were last year, the year before that. So for like, say, for example, a $500,000 house, please feel free to consult with any of your loan officers to confirm all these numbers, obviously. But I will say that at 500,000 last year, someone could buy a house and maybe pay, I'd say the payment for a $500,000 house last year, if you're paying in the 4% range, 3.75% range, you're paying, I'd say, about $500 difference than you're paying now, if not more. So a house then at $500,000 might cost you around, $23,000, let's say. Now that's going to be about $4,000 or 38, about $800 a month difference. So that is a big deal. So if you're now buying a house and you're paying $4,000 a month for the house, that means that that's $50,000 a year in just your mortgage. So why are people getting all this money is one question. And so the answer is, people I think are living maybe below their means a little bit, which is encouraging, but also, pay has gone up, and also people coming from different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And so that plus the scarcity of houses in different price ranges has made it kept it in the same level of demand as you probably saw last year or the year before that. Maybe not to the same degree, but you'll see the people that want houses right now, specific houses, will go after them. And that's the way it was last year and all across the area for almost any house, just because there was a demand in general for just houses. Like, I will buy a house. I want a house. I will pay for a house, period. Now it's, I will maybe wait for my house, be a little more particular for my house, but when I see it, I will be aggressive. Why? Because of scarcity. There are so few houses in the market in proportion to how many people that want houses or need houses really at this point, than there normally are for times of this time of the year. So you'll see a house that gets listed. If there are 5-7 people that will make offers, you'll still see those well over asking price houses. I had a client that a couple of weeks ago, we made an offer on a house, and it was just under 500. It went well over. I don't know the exact amount over, but I believe there were 16 offers. So that's not crazy right now, still in very specific situations. And that was in the Tab High School District in and around Yorktown. So that's important to know, because while the prices have increased, taking that mindset of, okay, prices have increased, therefore the market has slowed, taking that and translating it into being less aggressive for the house that you actually want could backfire if you really want that house. So I would just say temper your expectations as far as how aggressive or how conservative you can approach any house, because I mean, there are people out there that really want houses, because again, there aren't that many houses in every neighborhood that are hitting the market right now. So that being said, Will from New Jersey, great, thank you, welcome from New Jersey. Watching from PC, working still. Oh, very, very cool. Okay. Virginia Beach resident. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for watching from the homeland, if you will. 2 hours Mountain Time. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to shift over and talk to you about some specific areas in all of Hampton Roads that are sticking around 500,000. And you'll notice that 500,000 is a pretty significant threshold. As soon as you break 500, it's very easy to get into 500, past 500, into 550 and up. And I think the reason is more of a mental thing. So you'll see a lot of neighborhoods, even in Virginia Beach or through Williamsburg, and you'll see a lot of times that the values of those areas will get to like 450, 460, 470, 480, and it kind of slows, 485, 490, and then it's hard to break that line. And as soon as you break it, then you start seeing 510, 515, 520, but it's kind of that resistance, almost like the stock market. And I don't want to compare the housing market to the stock market, because it's not. But as far as demand goes, as far as what someone's willing to pay for something goes, that's the same thing I tell people when it comes down to how to make an offer on a house. There are certain numbers that are mental blocks for people. And as soon as you cross over those thresholds, it becomes easier to get that house. And that's a tip you can use. And people use those thresholds, whether it be a round number, a certain type of increment over a certain other number, every 5,000, every 10,000, like those increments, and even 50,000, those are resistance points in a sense between what someone's willing to pay for a house or a specific neighborhood. So once it crosses over over a price range, a threshold, that's when you'll start seeing more and more and more go faster once that first one hits, if that makes sense. So there are some neighborhoods in here that I'm going to mention that are going to have passed that threshold. And so there are some that are still under there, and mostly under there. And so I would say that part of the goal here is to just kind of give you an idea of what's possible. There are some neighborhoods that will be, depending on what kind of house you want, there are a lot of houses in some of these neighborhoods that are going to be under 500,000, but there will be some that will still be over 500,000, if that makes sense. So my son Washeen's question: what is the average time houses are staying on the market? Is it different in different price levels? Great question. So yes, absolutely. So under 4, it's really competitive. And you'll see houses that most of them will still go in, a weekend, 2-3 days. And that doesn't mean you have 2 or 3 days before you can make an offer. It can be, but I'm saying it doesn't mean that it takes 2 or 3 days for someone to find it that they like it. Is the right way to say it? It doesn't take someone 2 or 3 days it doesn't take 2 or 3 days for somebody to find it and like it. Usually they'll wait 2 or 3 days for all the offers to come in. And then once the offers come in, they'll make a decision. So I'd say that a weekend, usually things go in that 350 price range, 400 price range, most of them. And once you get over 550, you'll see them start trickling into the 7, 10, 12 days in the market, and some of those that will sit. Before, if a house sat, it was like 4 or 5 days, maybe. Now it's like 12. Now it's like 13, 14, 15, 10. Once you get over 6 and 7, it's still about the same, maybe like 10. If you see it staying on the market, you'll still see a lot of them that will still go off pretty quickly. But once you get over 7, 15, 8, that's where you're starting to see more that will sit beyond that first week or 2 weeks. And one of the reasons is because once you cross over the requirements to have what's considered a conforming loan, meaning once you go over, they call it a jumbo loan. A jumbo loan is a loan that's beyond what's considered conforming, meaning they don't want, the government doesn't want to insure or doesn't want to insure a number over a certain threshold across an area, right? And so there are less people that will want to put money down to get their payment or their amount of mortgage under that threshold. If they're buying a house over like $9 or $1 million or whatever, there are less people that will want to do that, or there are less people that will want to not do that, but still pay a higher amount for their interest rate, because jumbo loans, meaning non-conforming or mortgages that are higher than that threshold, are going to be a higher interest rate. And I think right now they raised it. I don't remember the exact number now. I think it's 7. I'll look for it. It's not too high compared to, like, if you're paying $1 million and putting 20% down, you won't get the threshold. But if you're at 750, you're gonna be pretty close. So that's why I say once you get over 8+, you're starting to see less buyer pool, whether for those multiple reasons. So that's why you're starting to see fewer houses that will go off in the higher 800+ price range, if that makes sense. So let me go into the map and show you. Excuse me. I'll clear my throat. I apologize. I'm trying to go through my camera manners, if you will. I'm going to go share my screen so you can see different parts of the area. And you can see my map, my fancy map, aka Google Maps. Where'd it go? There it is. And you'll see me looking at Google Maps. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out and you can see the whole area. Now, there are $500,000 price range houses all across the area, right? And so the question is, what do you need? Like, what size house do you need? And how far do you want to be from work and all that kind of stuff? Now, those are questions we can talk about. I've talked about that in other videos about how to make a decision about how to find the best house for you based on where you want to live. Because if you notice that the waterways, meaning the James River right here, the York River right here, the Chesapeake Bay, the ocean, all this is actually called Lynnhaven Roads here. That's why it's called Hampton Roads. It's a waterway area. This is a big dividing line between what people often are willing to drive across to get to other parts of town. And so you'll see cheaper areas in Hampton, Newport News. If you want to live in Virginia Beach or work in Virginia Beach and commute to Newport News and Hampton, long drive, you pay for that. You're paying for that in time, but you save in price a lot of times. So I'm going to start actually in Williamsburg. And there are a couple of neighborhoods I want to mention in Williamsburg that I think are worth going over. People ask me a lot of times about Kingsmill and Ford's Colony. Those are two common neighborhoods that, they're HOAs, big HOAs, and most of those are going to be in the over $500,000 price range. However, if you want a house that is in a neighborhood that is well above the $500,000 threshold, then you'll find spots that are like 450, 500, but small houses and small attached houses in Kingsmill and Ford's Colony. Very small and very few and far between. So that being said, I want to include those because if you want something that you're in a neighborhood that has a much larger top level price range, I would consider those as potentials. That being said, going further north, there is an area in Toronto called Stonehouse that I like a lot. And that is close to the Stonehouse golf course, which I've not played at, but I'm, as a newer emerging golfer, there's a golf course right there. It's very nice. And there are houses in there anywhere from the 4s upwards over like 7 and 8. And so there are some new construction in here. I do some research, check out and see what you think about those areas and those new constructions. But there are other parts in Stonehouse that are not the new construction that I like a lot that are in the 5s and up. But if you can buy in here under 5, also a big fan. And so you're just right off of, where are we at? There it is. Sorry, I zoomed in the wrong spot. There it is right there. So several mini neighborhoods within Stonehouse. And you can zoom out. 64 is right there. And so you hit 64. And so you can get from there all the way down to Virginia Beach, really in about an hour if there's no traffic. Now, that's if there's no traffic, because traffic is often very real, a very real thing. So I would not, if you're going to be coming from Toronto, from Stonehouse down to Newport News and Hampton, doable, but it's going to be still about 30, 35, 40 minutes, 30, 35 minutes. But it's a quick, easy shot. So you'll find houses in here that are going to be 2,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet. But you can get more house for your money in Toronto and around Toronto compared to what you can get, for example, in Williamsburg or, for example, in Yorktown. So that's a place I would focus on if you want some value for the money, and it's not not too far away. But you'll talk to some people that live here that will say it's too far, because it's almost like what I compare in the Suffolk area compared to Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach in Suffolk, in theory, not too far away. You can get to Suffolk on this side of Suffolk in 30 minutes, which is where most of the area is from Virginia Beach. But traffic can hit, number one. And two, it feels so far. I mean, it feels so far. And it feels like you're in the country. It's just a long drive. It's the whole thing. And so because of that, it makes people not want to recommend or feel good about going to one side or the other, because it's like, oh, I got to drive so far. It's kind of like how Toronto is compared to Newport News or Hampton. Now, going further south, though, there is a neighborhood. What's the name of it? Oh, why did I forget the name of it? Forgive me. Well, Wellington is one. I'll mention Wellington as a good option. But where is the one that okay. Forgive me here. I'm going to find. See, this is what happens when you do stuff in real time. You got to find your stuff. Find your stuff. Sam, find your stuff. There we go. It is going to be. Where is it? There it is. I think. Whitaker's Mill. There we go. Whitaker's Mill. Okay. Apologize, guys. You're sitting there waiting for me. Whitaker's Mill is an area that is, if you want to go further south in Williamsburg and you want something like an HOA, like I mentioned, Kings Mill, like I mentioned, Ford's Colony. If you want to be somewhere that's close to Williamsburg, but also like a nice house, nice HOA, but like nothing fancy, but it's a great spot, like in relation to other things, I would check out Whitaker's Mill. It's very close to Busch Gardens in Water Country, USA. And it's right off of the main road. So you can come off 64. It takes you like 3-4 minutes to get there. Same idea. Convenient. Takes you to Williamsburg, takes you down to Newport News, all the way down into the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. So that is another area. You're talking like between around 500,000. You'll see some under that, 2,500 square feet. Nice, more of a modern living space kind of scenario. Let me see if I can pull up a house example. I got some that I want to pull up here. There it is. Nope, that's it. Where is it? You're like, where are we talking about, Sam? Okay, there we go. See, that's Clements Mill Trace. That's Whitaker's Mill. So zoom in there and you'll see that just off 64, it's not that far away. And I'll talk about some other areas that have some spots too that I want to mention. There are some on my hot sheet, if you will. But this one's 520, but there are others that are less than that. And you'll see that there are some that are going to be like, 485, 495 in that kind of range, but they're newer style houses, right? So coming out from there, I want to show you another one that I like called Queens Lake. Queens Lake is great because, let me go back to my map and share this. There we go. Queens Lake is nice because it's around a lake, which is cool. And there's Queens Lake right there. There are some neighborhoods around here, some streets around here that are in, you'll see, I love houses that are in neighborhoods that are much higher price. So Queens Lake is in a neighborhood that is, you'll see houses in here in the 7s and up, some along the water. You'll see that around Queens Lake, and there's a nice HOA that's optional in here, which is another benefit of being in the neighborhood. Let me go back to, sorry, excuse me. There we go. So it's a benefit to being in the neighborhood because, if you want an HOA, but you don't want to pay for it necessarily, and don't use it then you could consider Queens Lake. That being said, these are older houses. So if you don't want an older house, this might not be the right spot for you. Built in the 60s mostly. And so again, same thing. You're kind of off 64, pretty easy to get off of the interstate to get to Queens Lake, and maybe 5-6 minutes, as opposed to like 2, 3, or 4 minutes. So but I love the house styles in here, very heavily in nature, and heavily like in like kind of nice characters. So not necessarily like what you'd find in Ghent and Norfolk, like the old historic, but it's got enough character there to where it feels like you're like, it's a very nice spot, very quiet. People in here that have lived here for a long time. So big fan of Queens Lake. That is right there. Now, zooming out, we're gonna go back further south now, into let's see. We're going to talk about. I want to determine which spot did I decide on Yorktown. There are a few in Yorktown that I think will be worth looking at, but there's one specific one I wanted to mention that was. We talking about. Oh well, number one would be Kiln Creek. So Kiln Creek is nice because it's very convenient to Newport News, convenient to the bases, convenient to different school districts. So part of Kiln Creek is not in the Yorktown area. It's also mostly in Newport News, so it depends on where. So if you want school district differences, this is where I would focus to determine which spots in the area to look at. But this is right off of 64 again. Plenty of strip malls and areas nearby, like Kroger. It's right across the street. Good restaurants near there, good coffee shop near there. But plenty of restaurants, plenty of shopping. Jefferson Avenue is right off of 64, and that's a long road that has plenty of shopping near Whole Foods, near Trader Joe's, near more big box stuff. And so it's a drawback. Got Lowe's over there, Walmart, Target, Patrick Henry Mall. But if you're close to stuff, right, and you're close to the airport, which you'll hear a little bit of stuff, you'll hear some noise coming from the airplanes in some cases there. But oops, zoomed out. Anyway. Big fan of Kiln Creek, also because you have a lot of different varieties of styles of houses, different prices of houses in the 200s all the way up to 700-800, I suppose. So you'll see some neighborhoods in Kiln Creek that are in the 4s and they're in the 5s, and so you'll find it's very well taken care of. It's a condo or HOA, and so depending on where the 4s and 5s houses are going to be mostly just HOAs. But I like this spot for the price, and again, you're talking. Not that far away from most everything, which is hard to find in a place like that, and that HOA's style like that. So, answer the question. Sorry, going back. How bad was the tornado damage? Oh, good question. Do you frequently get them? Great questions. This is actually a good thing to answer, and I'll answer it right now, which is the answer is how bad was it? It was bad in very specific spots, meaning, it happened in Great Neck mostly. So Great Neck on the northern side of Great Neck. We'll talk about Great Neck here later on in a little bit. But on the north part of it, you'll see some neighborhoods that got hit pretty hard in very specific spots and very specific streets. So that being said, how bad was it? I mean, you'll see some houses that were like the tops were taken off and trees falling into them and blown. I mean, devastation in some very specific spots. But how often does this happen? Not very. I've heard something about like it was the worst we've seen in like 15 years. I don't know how true that is, but it doesn't happen very much. And number one, when it happened, when I saw that it happened, I kind of glossed over it. Not because I didn't care, but because I'm used to hearing things like funnel clouds or water spouts happening, but nothing really of significance, right? So when it happened, I'm like, man, and I saw it on the news on Weather Channel. The website had more information about it, which is very rare to see anything like that happen, to where it makes the actual Weather Channel news page on the front page. Very surprised about that. So it's very uncommon. So I wouldn't necessarily expect that kind of thing on a regular basis. But I mean, we're in a spot that has all the climates, all the seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter. And because of that, you'll see a little bit of snow, a little bit you'll have a lot more really hot. But then you'll have really nice spring, real nice fall in different parts of the time. But you'll also see a little bit of hurricane, like tropical storms, mostly sometimes. And every once in a while, you'll see this. And so it doesn't surprise me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it ever happened here. But it did surprise me. So that helps at all. Hey, Sam. Hey, Pipes 1101. My fiance and I are also interested in looking at townhomes Is the market any different from townhomes versus single family houses? Great question. And I actually need to go back and talk about townhouses. If we're talking about the northern area, like near Williamsburg, there's an area I want to mention called Newtown, which I'm a big fan of, which is, if you like this kind of thing where you can like walkable elements, I'll drop a pin here too so you can see it. Can you see? There's some detached houses in here too, but it's kind of like a neighborhood built with like townhouses, single family houses, and shopping, all and businesses all in and around Newtown. I'm a big fan of it because it's so hard to find. Now, I know most people don't necessarily like, I say a lot of people don't necessarily like all that stuff together so close, but I like it because it's unique. And so because you can't find this very often, I'm a big fan of it and I like the scarcity of it. So I would definitely say checking Newtown out for townhouses would be a good idea in the same price range, like around fours up, fives, you'll see them in there, but it depends on what size and all that. You'll see condos in there like in upper 200s, but anyway, going further south though, you'll see most townhouses and condos, which will go down into Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake now, just to kind of go. I mean, I've been dwelling a lot on Williamsburg. I want to kind of sprinkle things around here, but townhouses in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake are the most frequent. You won't see many as much in Norfolk or Portsmouth or Suffolk or even Newport News or Hampton. You'll see some across in every city. But Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, because of when they were built, when the neighborhoods were or the cities were developed the most, you'll see a lot of areas with those townhouses. Not as many in the 4s and 5s though. You'll see them in the 3s. You'll see them in the 4s, but you'll see a mixture there. So, but you'll find most of your opportunities going to be in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, but you'll see some pockets elsewhere. Because of the price, they're just as competitive, in my opinion, unless it's a very specific reason why not. So if you're looking at like the 2s or 3s, 300,000 price range, if it's in a good school district that everybody wants, or a school district that, I mean, if it's, gosh, yeah, location's a big deal. If that's the reason for people to go after that spot, they'll do a townhouse. And so they'll be aggressive for those too. So just be ready for that. Though, as you go lower and lower in price, you'll find less people that are willing to be way more aggressive. So it's not like $50,000 over usually, but it's a lot less than that, but it's still pretty aggressive. So anyway, now going into Norfolk. Now I'm a big fan of Norfolk. Hold on. I get a drink to wet my whistle. And they're talking, my mouth is going dry. So looking at Norfolk is a great spot for houses in the 4s in around 5, right? There are a lot of neighborhoods that are under 4. And so there's all through the central part. You'll see a lot of them in the 3s, some even in the 2s every once in a while, but 3s and into the 4s in the central section mostly. It's once you zoom out into the areas near the water, or areas near the beach, near Ocean View, or areas in the southwestern side near Ghent, Larchmont, downtown Norfolk near Freemason, that whole area, that's where you're starting to see more that are over 500. But you can find pockets in those same neighborhoods under 5. So for example, Larchmont, great example. You'll see some there, most of them are over 5, but you'll see some good pockets in there that'll be under 5. Flood insurance can be a factor there, so just be aware of that. Going into Ghent, mostly over 5, but you can find some spots, especially townhouses. Talking about that pipes, townhouses in Ghent, you'll see some in the 475, 5 range that will work really well. I love that part of Ghent a lot. Now, going further West Ghent, you can get houses a little bit cheaper in West Ghent compared to what you can get in Ghent. So I would say just keep in mind that while there's a difference, right? Because you're crossing over Hampton Boulevard right here. And so once you cross over Hampton Boulevard, it's a lot easier to get to places. So you're kind of in a nook in this corner over here, but you can get cheaper houses over here. And if you're okay with going across Hampton Boulevard, which, why is it a big deal? Just traffic along Hampton Boulevard, traffic backing up near the tunnel, and it's stoplights, one-way streets. It's annoying. You turn down a road, it's a one-way. Oh, I got to turn around again and go a different way. just a lot of that kind of stuff. And so if you don't want to deal with that, then you have to pay more to get into Ghent. But West Ghent's a fantastic for a little bit cheaper house for the same size, if you will. Now, going further south, same idea. Freemason, townhouses in here, condos in here, mostly in the 3s and 4s, but you'll find some over that. Isabella, hey Isabella, we're looking for neighborhoods with space between houses. Our budget is 400,000. Great question. Okay, so let me go back to my map. One of the things you'll notice is that the space between houses in a lot of price ranges is often dependent on the age of the house. Most newer houses, usually you'll give up land. It's one of the first things you give up to get a new house and stay even in a price range, right? So if you want something newer, it's going to be hard to find under $400,000 with a space between houses. Now, I did a video about this. I don't know if you saw it, about houses with more space between them. You'll find some, and it's very, very specific, right? Very specific. And I'm talking about, like, instead of it being a 100-foot lot, you're talking 120, 130 maybe. And I'm being real. I mean, it could be even just 100, 110, but the houses are just enough different. It feels a little bit different. You'll see some in the north side of Norfolk, very specific spots, maybe around Camellia Acres. It's going to feel kind of cramped in there, but Camellia Shores, that's going to be a little bit higher. Sorry, I'm kind of verbally processing this as we go. Very specific spots. Now, if you get into the southern part, like northwestern side of Virginia Beach, places near Lake Smith, Lake Smith Terrace might have some under 4, excuse me. Especially if you can do like a 3-1.5, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, but it depends on what your specs are, what you're looking for. And that's, again, I tell people a hack to getting under a certain price range is take out a half bathroom sometimes. A 3-1.5, you'll save a decent amount of money compared to a 3-2. So if you want that extra little savings, but you want to be in a specific spot, check that out. And usually the places that have that the most are older neighborhoods built in the 60s and before. And that's like Lake Smith, around Lake Smith, this area. Just check this area out if you can. Also, Aragona has some spots that might have that. It depends. It's kind of interpretive as far as what you consider space between. But there are some spots even near Kempsville that I think would be great to check out. Whitehurst Landing, areas around Providence Road. There's Whitehurst Landing right here. Kempsville Colony is one that's all in here. I would check this place out because, again, just enough difference, just enough to where you'll notice a difference. And yeah, I'd say Kempsville is a great spot to consider for the price, for the style, and also because you'll see some spots of the area, like in southwestern Virginia Beach, that are a little bit older, but they were developed on property that has a little bit unique plot size, plot configuration. Parts of Kempsville are like that, where it's just a little bit extra land. Brigadoon has some spots that are, some nice corner lots for around 380, 375, like 1,600 square feet. And we're talking over near, where's Brigadoon? Here we go. Just south of Lake Christopher, this whole area right here. And so zooming out, like you'll find most of Virginia Beach will be in the southwestern side and northwestern side. And going to Chesapeake, you might find some in the South Great Bridge area or closer to Grassfield, but not in Grassfield, mostly Great Bridge. You'll find a few that maybe like Albemarle Acres, for example. It's right off Centerville Turnpike will have a few. I think they'll be just under like 350, 375 in here. Same idea, 3-1.5, maybe even a 3-2. That would be in Albemarle Acres. So you'll find some. Just look for, especially houses in the 50s and 60s. You'll have the most success for houses like that in the 400 price range with space in between them. So, drink. Excuse me. Whew, man, wet my whistle. So we talked about Norfolk a little bit, and I'll mention too, if you want to stay under 5, but you want to be near the beach, you can still do Ocean View. There's some Ocean View spots that will be in the 4s, up and down here. Pinewell, one of my favorite neighborhoods. We've talked about that before. Right here off next to the Ocean View Golf Course. Great spot right off of Route 60. And so if you find that you want to be close to the beach, I would just check, anything several blocks away. The further you go away from the beach, obviously the cheaper you'll get, but anything right around Bayview, Pinewell, check those out because you can find some good value there even under 4, sometimes under 4.25. So leading me over to Chesapeake. Chesapeake has plenty around 500,000. And part of the reason is because the houses in here were built in certain time periods. Mentioned this before, 2,500 square feet, in demand floor plan, more modern floor plan, 80s, 90s and up. You'll see a lot of them in Chesapeake. And so because of that, you'll find kind of the classic style of design in these time periods kind of fit what you'd find in the dramatic pause. What I'm saying is probably not the best way to explain it. What I was going to say was you'll see a lot of houses in those price ranges, 80s and 90s. And because of that, you'll see houses in the 2,500 square feet, 2,200 square feet price range, size range, 28. And that's something you won't find as much, like, for example, in the western part of Virginia Beach, where I'm saying before, 3.1.5. You can get cheaper houses over there. But comparing it to South Chesapeake, you'll find more that are a little bit more expensive, but more in the 500s as opposed to more in the 350, 375 range, if that makes sense. So the 2,500 square foot, 2,800 square foot houses in Chesapeake, you'll find plenty in Great Bridge. Go back to Albemarle Acres. Great Bridge specials are very, very popular in the 450, 425, often near Fentress, Etheridge Manor, Upton Farms, neighborhoods closer to 475, 500. If you get in here in this area, right in here off of Centerville Turnpike, Etheridge Manor Boulevard, Route 168, Battlefield, the bypass, either side of here, you'll find plenty. Las Gaviotas has some that are under 500,000 off of Cedar Road, which is right over here. Great Bridge over here. You'll find, again, same kind of idea as you come off of Johnstown Road, off of Mount Pleasant, off of Battlefield Boulevard. Anywhere down here, you'll find plenty of these Great Bridge special spots or places that have a little bit more land. Another place to check out with the land, but it's more expensive, right? So, 2,800 square feet, 2,500 square feet, 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath. You can get houses in here in the 525, 475 range. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And you're close to main roads, Cedar Road, Walmart's over there, plenty of other big box stores, access to things off of Cedar Road, as well as off of a Battlefield Boulevard, which that has got plenty of restaurants. And also it takes you up towards Greenbrier with lots of other, plenty of shopping, plenty of restaurants, all kinds of stuff. So as long as you're close to Centerville Turnpike right here, and Battlefield Boulevard right here, and as long as you're close to there or Mount Pleasant, which is right here, or Cedar Road, which is right here, you're going to be pretty easy access to the rest of Chesapeake. The problem is going to be right here, which is your drawbridge, which is the Great Bridge, the Locks Bridge, which will take you from one side to the other. It's a drawbridge, and so it can be kind of frustrating because right here things kind of what's the word when traffic things bottleneck right here as you're waiting for the bridge, especially. So anything in this south central section of Chesapeake, I think will be good in the 5s range, because also you're close to areas like Forest Lakes, great example of a neighborhood in Virginia, or Great Bridge, South Great Bridge, that are more like in the 7s and 8s and up. You're close to neighborhoods that are in those price ranges. And so you can be in the 4s, in the 5 range, and be close to there. You're doing great. And so that's why I like South Chesapeake. And if you want to go further up, I would check out Greenbrier. Check out Greenbrier near the neighborhood near Greenbrier Mall. Where are we at? There we go. You'll see like some smaller ones, single family houses in the 350 range in here, but you'll see a lot less size houses in here, or smaller houses. Excuse me. Another one probably want to mention too is the benefit to being in Chesapeake, and I want to do a video about this soon. I got a tickle in my nose. Excuse me. Man, a lot of technical difficulties tonight. Excuse me. The area around Volvo Parkway and Eden Way, this is becoming like a small, but exists town center. You can't really see it on the map yet, probably. Street view, yeah, nothing here yet, really. This is all restaurants, apartments, new office building space, more businesses. I think there's a gym in here now. First Watch it's a great brunch place right here that's now built there. And I'll do a video that talks a lot about this. This is a new thing happening recently, and it kind of snuck up on me. I knew it was coming, and I just was like, what's it going to be, But I was very impressed with what was able to be done in a very short or small area. So being close to here is very important. And if you can look at Volvo Parkway, between Volvo and Greenbrier Parkway here, and also Battlefield Boulevard here, close to here is great. So I would consider that for sure. Okay. So going over into Virginia Beach, I mentioned the areas that had smaller prices, but a little bit larger lot size. Well, now if you're talking about 500,000 and under, there are some neighborhoods that are going to fit that really well. Now, depends on where, as to what type of house you're looking for, as well as the size of house. So number one is going to go down the southwestern side is going to be in the southwestern area near Kempsville, near Fairfield, which is over near Kempsville Lake, Fairfield here, as well as close to Larkspur, which is near Mount Trashmore Park. Big fan of there, Bellamy Manor. All these areas have houses that are over 5, but you can get houses in here under 5. And doing that will get you in a great spot, great access to other stuff, extremely central area. Not to the beach, 18, 20 minutes to the beach, but you're close to the interstate, which is very, very important. So in addition to that, Salem Woods. Love Salem Woods, which is right off of Lynn Haven Parkway. Right here, this is Salem Woods, close to Salem High School. Love this area for what you can get. Again, you'll see houses in the 550s. You'll see houses in the 450s, 425 range too. So focus on there if you can. Coventry is just south of there. Another great neighborhood for the 450, 500,000 price range. And also another one I think for what you get, I think is a big deal, is Glenwood. Glenwood is awesome because, whoops, I just gave you a weird, there you go. Glenwood's great because, why is it great, Sam? Because it's got an HOA, it's got a pool. It's not a super expensive HOA, which is obviously great, but a lot of the houses in here are still under 5, under 525, under 475. You'll see them in that range, and you'll see them still in the 450, 435 range. You'll see that happen. So I think if you want to stay as close to 450 as much as you can and be in a newer neighborhood, newer like design, newer floor plans, I would check out Glenwood. It's Glen. There's Glenwood Elementary right there. It's right in here off Pleasant Valley, off of Indian River Road, close to Stumpy Lake. And so I would check this area out for that reason. Great neighborhood for the price, I think, and nice open floor plans and all that. So that's another one in the 5 in and around price range. Now, going further east, you'll see a few that I like that are around 500. One of which is Red Mill Farm. We talked about anything in and around ocean lakes. I'm a big fan of for the demand of the area and access to military bases, specifically Oceana, as well as Damnack, and an in-demand school district. And I would say for the drive to work, if you're going to be at Oceana, and if you're going to be in a school district that people want, if you're looking, in demands, check out niche.com, check out greatschools.org, and you'll find that those spots are going to be extremely in demand for those types of things. In addition to very like open floor plan, more modern floor plan. You'll see some that are kind of boxy still. That kind of is that time period of construction where things started opening up a little bit, but you'll see houses like the 4, 2.5 and the 5, 475 range in this part of town, especially, and also in Ocean Lakes. You can get a cheaper house in Ocean Lakes in the 450 price range. Now, another one next to that is Southern Woods. Big fan of there as well. But you'll find that more houses under 5 are in the southern part of the area or northwest. What you'll find though is you can find neighborhoods in the northeastern and north central part of Virginia Beach. But what you'll have to do to sacrifice to get in those parts of town to get under 5 will be giving up several things, or one of a variety of things. One is going to be size of house. So for an area like in Great Neck, I mentioned before, you can go into the southern part of Great Neck, like What's a good neighborhood that would be a good example? Point of Woods, I think it's Point of Woods, is over here, just north of Old Donation. Is it Point of Woods? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to think about what's the other neighborhood next to it. But there are some spots in here that are going to be like the 450 range. Some of them. Anything near Old Donation, you'll find most are over 5, but the smaller neighborhoods, like or smaller houses, like 1,900 square feet, 1,800, 1,700, 1,600 will still be under 5 in a lot of cases. Like Kenstock, great neighborhood, a lot of ranches in here. There will still be maybe some under 5 there too. So Southern Point might have a few under 5 in very specific cases, but you'll find that you'll give up an extra room or two to be in most parts of Great Neck and some of Little Neck. Kings Grant, the further south you go, mostly you'll find better value as you go further south in Kings Grant, but you'll find some under 5 here. 2,200 square feet, 2,000 square feet in Kings Grant, as opposed to 25 or 28 or somewhere in that range if you go in other parts of Virginia Beach. So depends on where you are in Kings Grant, but especially if you go further south, you'll find some that are, again, the neighborhoods are great. I'll drop a pin here. Real secluded. And here's one for like more space between houses. But again, these houses are going to be a little bit higher than 8 and 4, mostly in the, starting in the 4s. But there's no HOA here. So you'll find a mishmash of yard maintenance, but mostly in the price range. In the location, you'll find that yards are very well maintained for the most part. You'll find a lot of ranches if you want something that's a little bit smaller. So you'll find a mixture of different styles of 2-story and ranch, but very quiet back here. It's secluded. It's a little bit further away from the main part of town. So for example, if you're going to come off of Little Neck going down towards 264, it's going to take you like 6 minutes just to get there. Then you got to go to the rest of town, but there's plenty of strip malls and plenty of main, like town center is like 12, 13 minutes away. So there's a lot of options shopping wise, anywhere in Virginia Beach to where you're not going to be too far away from most of anything. So the biggest drawback here is it's going to be just like in Kings Grant, in Great Neck, you can go in the north side towards the beach, which you can find some under 500s here too in townhouses near Chicks Beach, or you can go closer to Hilltop. You can connect to both sides of Virginia Beach from here. But in Little Neck, you can only come out one way, like a big cul-de-sac, like I've said many times before. So that's the drawback to being here. Now, if you want to be closer to the beach, it's just going to be condos and attached houses, unless you want to go towards Shadowlawn, which every once in a while you'll find like a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, small little bungalow, maybe under 500,000 right now, maybe in Shadowlawn. You'll find a couple of them. Where am I at? There we are. But it's not very common. So if you want beach access, what used to be like 350, 375, 400 is now 450, 475, 500, 550, 600. Like it's increasing a lot. So you kind of measure how important it is to be that close to the beach, right? So that's a nice overview for a lot of parts of the area that I like that are close to 500 or around 500, because I'm trying to find those spots that are giving the most upside for the neighborhood. So if you want that house at 475, you want to be in the neighborhoods that are valued in the 6 and up or 7 and up range. I try and find those spots a lot because that's what kind of preserves the demand for that neighborhood, right? So big fan of that. So if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. I'm open to anything that you have. If you have any questions you want to relocate here, let me know. I can help you relocate here for sure, because I help people anywhere from the border, right down at the border here, Virginia, North Carolina, all the way up through Williamsburg, past Williamsburg to Tawano and beyond. Like I've helped people in Providence Forge in that area. Once you get past there, it starts getting into the areas that I'm not as experienced with. So kind of Providence Forge and around Mountcastle is kind of where my expertise kind of wanes as you get past there. So, and I have people I work with, and I know, in Richmond that I can connect you with if you have any questions, of people in areas in Richmond as well. So if you have no more questions, that's it for today. I love helping people. If you have any questions, I would love to help you, and drop a comment below, and I will give you any sort of information and guidance as much as possible. If you need assistance relocating here too, that's what I do. And I have my contact information in the description, and I'll be back here next Wednesday for the next video, and I'll be posting here. Will be another video, and I think I know what I'm going to do next week, and I'll surprise you with that. But until then, I will see you on the next video.